Hi there, it's Sandra from the Schwowin's Nest. Thanks for joining me today. My first project for you today needs some dark gray chalk paint, which I am totally out of, but I have lots of black paint and I have lots of white paint. I buy them in gallons right off the shelf at my hardware stores. The black is from Walmart and it's called Black Onyx. This is an eggshell finish. And the white one is a flat white finish, also, like I said, ready to buy right off the shelf. I mix my colors in a glass jar. I'm always washing out my glass jars and keeping them. And I'm doing about a half and half ratio here. The nice thing about mixing your own paints is that you can get the color you want. You don't have to just be limited as to what is out in the stores. I've got my paint stir stick and I am stirring the heck out of it. And in a few minutes, I'm going to pick it up and start shaking the bejeebies out of it. To make this a chalk paint, I'm adding some talc. This talc is from Johnson& and Johnson. It's their baby powder version. I've had these for a few years. I know they no longer sell it because of the properties in the talc, but I stocked up, so I still have some. There are some other options available on Amazon. If I can find them, I'll link them down in my description box. You'll want to stir it up as best you can and then give it a really good shake again until you don't have any more lumps in it. I'm going to be painting this urn that you see here in the corner. You'll see it better in a second. I want to give it a concrete look. It's a really funky turquoise color, but it has some beautiful lines in it and design. So I'm taking some baking soda and I'm mixing it in with my newly made chalk paint. Now this turns out pretty thick because the chalk paint that I made is also very thick. So I do add a little bit of water just to thin it out so it's easier to work with. When I do this type of technique using the baking soda in the chalk paint, I like to use a stippling brush, and this one is fairly rough. I love it for this because not only does the baking soda give it texture, but the stippling also gives it texture. I'm going to make sure I get in all of the grooves and all of these cracks and crevices and make sure that you don't see any of that green. Although at one point I thought it would be really cool to put some bronze paint on this and make it look like aged copper, but that's not really my style. So I'm headed back to the concrete. Now that the urn is dry, I'm taking this same brush with some white chalk paint and I'm going to go all over it, heavier in some spots, lighter in other spots, but it's all going to get a little touch of white. Now I'm going to start making the tree. This is a branch that I got from my lilac bush in the backyard, and these stems I got at Walmart a while ago, and they've been waiting for the right pot to come along, and I finally was able to grab one. I'm taking my drill and with a bit that's a little bit bigger than the stems, I'm putting some holes in the branch. I want to be able to set those stems right in the branch so they look like they're growing out. This one that I'm doing is on a bit of an angle, and that will just help to make it look more realistic. I'm just going to use hot glue. I'm going to put some right inside each of the holes and then push the stem in and hold it there until the glue has a chance to dry. This turns out really good. I did this with a lemon tree a while ago for some summer decor, and it's just a really fun way to make a fabulous looking tree. It may be hard for you to tell, but I'm making sure that I'm putting the branches in face up as you see me doing here. I don't want the colored parts to be looking down. I want the colored parts to be looking up because that's naturally how a tree would grow. I'm adding a few more holes down towards the bottom of the tree, and then I'll just continue adding branches and stems until I'm happy with what it looks like. The other thing I do for these trees is keep spinning it around and making sure that it looks good from all angles because, of course, it's a tree. It's not going to be hanging on a wall, it's going to be standing up somewhere, and it needs to look good from all angles. This urn wasn't very heavy. It's actually resin. so it's kind of lightweight, but I decided to put some pea gravel down at the bottom just to give it a little bit of extra weight so it doesn't topple over. I'm going to be using a pool noodle right in the center because it's got the perfect hole where I can put the tree trunk. And then I'm going to be cutting up a little bit more pool noodle to wedge in all around the side and make sure that it's nice and secure in there. Then I simply pushed the stem right inside the pool noodle, added a little bit of hot glue and some reindeer moss to cover up the pool noodle, and this olive tree is complete and absolutely stunning. Today, I am being joined by another new up and coming YouTuber, Dawn from Designs by Gaddis. Dawn does some amazing budget friendly farmhouse decor. Of course, that's right up my alley. So I've been watching her videos. They are amazing. She just finished a beautiful ladybug tiered tray DIY decor video. Make sure you go down to my description box, click on her video that she's making with me today. Also, check out her channel, and I would really appreciate it if you could hit that red subscribe button and show her some support. My second project is this organizer. It's wooden that I've had for a couple of years. I painted it white before, as you can see. I put some words on it, didn't like it. It sat in the closet for a couple of years. So now it's time to make it look much prettier than it already does. Using some sandpaper and my block, I'm just going to get rid of as much of this Craft Smart paint pen words that's on there, and then I'll wipe it down really well. I'm going to use Martha Stewart Vintage Decor Chalk Paint in the color Eucalyptus. This is a beautiful green color, and I thought it would be really great as a base coat for what my plan is. So I'm going to give it one really good coat. This chalk paint covers really well. It's super thick, and it really only needed a little bit of a touch up as a second coat. I have been loving this candle wax distressing technique, so I thought I would give it a shot on this. I'm going to just go all over it. It's not all going to be coming off, just some of it, but I just kind of went to town covering every little bit of this with some wax. Now I'm giving it just one really good coat of my DIY white chalk paint because it's going to be a distressed piece, so it doesn't have to have a really awesome coverage. I just wanted to make sure that there weren't any green spots showing through. Once the paint was completely dry, I'm using my Pampered Chef scraper. It's just a piece of plastic, so if you have a credit card or another type of scraper, please don't use your Cricut scraper because it's way too expensive to use for this. You just go ahead and scrape off as much of the white paint as you want. It's really personal preference. For this one, I actually wanted quite a bit of the paint to come off to show that beautiful green color underneath. Look at this gorgeous napkin that I got from my Dollarama store. Absolutely beautiful. Look at all those wonderful succulents. I'm going to be using this as a decoupage paper, so I'm going to peel off the two layers of white underneath. You can see I'm having a pretty difficult time trying to find that corner, but when you do get it, they come off pretty easily. Using these tiny little scissors that I got at the Dollar Tree, I'm going to cut out each of the succulents that I want, making sure that I get all of the shapes cut out really well. So I'm going to be using probably 6 to 8 of these little succulents on my project. I'm going to use Mod Podge, and I'm going to start in the center of the very front. I'm also going to go over the lip a bit because I want those little succulents to kind of fold over the top edge. I think that's going to give it more of a high-end look. I always use my brush to pick up small pieces like this because it gives me more control of how I'm going to be placing it. Then I'm going to make sure that my brush is always a little bit wet with the Mod Podge because that's the best way to prevent any tearing of your paper. These are really thin papers, just like tissue paper, and you don't want it to tear. It also makes sure that you don't have that many wrinkles. I actually hardly got any wrinkles at all using this type of napkin. So I don't know if it was the napkin or the way I did it. I'm not really sure. But anyhow, I'm just going to continue adding the succulents along the row at the bottom here. I think I'm going to be ending up adding about 6 of them or 7 of them down here. I'm going to add 2 to the next level and then I'll add 1 at the very top. Since this is probably going to be standing on a table or a desk, it might be against a wall, but you never know. I decided to add one more succulent right to the middle in the back. I'm really loving that distressing technique. This one is absolutely gorgeous. I hope you enjoyed my projects today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. That really helps support my channel and gets me noticed more on YouTube. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you stopped by. Stick around a while by hitting that subscribe button. The black arrow will show you exactly where to click. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate all of your support. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.